there is no magic pill. The attribution is messy. Platform attribution is 100% weak signal. You could have data and you could trust data.
This is Measurement Where. I'm Kostya. I've spent more than 10 years working on one problem, making marketing measurement actually work. Today, I'm talking to Alex Ignatenko. He's a fractional head of marketing analytics, working with e-commerce and B2C scale teams on tracking, metrics, and attribution. His argument is one: the hardest part of attribution in 2026 isn't the data. Alexey, welcome.
Hey, Kostya. Hey, thank you for having me. So nice to be here.
Nice. Glad to have you here. Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
So, give us a quick overview. What kind of teams and scale you work with, and what state their attribution is usually when you arrive?
I try to propose that the attribution is messy, and it's been always messy, but I usually work with teams. They already have some sort of data, plenty of data, raw data in some table data warehouses and something like that from GA4, from BigQuery, from like Facebook ads, you name it. But the total, I don't know, the overall condition, which I can describe it, is mess. It's 100% mess. And unfortunately, it's really challenging, like to draw some, I don't know, holistic pictures, make some really comprehensive decisions with messy data. Is so my work is usually in the area of making the data more comprehensive, more easy to eat, and more easy to build, if you know what I mean, in terms of marketing attribution, working with product marketing teams and stuff like that. So that's it. According to your initial questions, the data is messy, the attribution is messy, and the teams I've been working with are mostly in the area of e-commerce, like online schools and sometimes gambling, online casinos.
Clear.
That's it.
I understand the pain. That's really a big problem when the teams or clients come to you and the data is messy. That's always the trigger to come to a consultant and bring the order back to the place.
Yeah, exactly. But the main point, like, nobody has some attribution issues like from scratch. Yeah. From day one, for example. Most teams I've been working with have the same issue. They like have an issue not in the beginning of the process. For example, not like in the beginning of like buying traffic from Google ads or Facebook ads, something like that. They have issue, and in most cases, it's just the one critical issue and is some discrepancies between data. For example, in GA4 you have one number, in Facebook ads you have total different number, in your CRM you have third one and stuff like that. So it's really easy to recognize my ICP, let's call it something like that. Like all the folks I've been working with, I have the same issue, discrepancies between the data. Like the data is different, numbers different, and they mislocated and stuff and something like that. And so that is why my first step is always like cleaning the data, and I usually try to look for like some reasons for discrepancies and try to fix it. Yeah.
I feel the pain sharp. And I want to stay on what is actually broken before we get to what to do about it. So my next question is, you said marketing teams end up debating whose numbers are right instead of making decisions. Where does the trust breakdown usually start?
So the first one, the first candidate, if you let me call it like that, is the tracking problem. Because tracking is some sort of basis, yeah, and it is something like over the everything rest is usually built. For example, you cannot like work with attribution. You cannot work with some data. You cannot build your machine learning models or something like that when you have no proper tracking. And when I'm talking about proper tracking, I'm talking not only about like specific events or like application JavaScript on your website or SDK in your mobile application, which could cost something like I don't know, 10, 20, $30,000 per month. I'm talking about, let's say, taxonomy, yeah, about how you name or call particular events, like what kind of dimensions or parameters do you use with these events and how they are aligned. And it's really challenging because Kostya, it's really easy to like to ruin all the stuff, because in the beginning you have, for example, only like 5, 10, 15 events, and it could look really, really easy to like to play, you know. Imagine a guy from marketing team, for example, or from data team, who like at one moment just thought that, okay, we have 10 events or 15 events and we have like 5 to 10 dimensions, for example. What if I add one more just for one specific event? Couldn't be a problem, he or she thinks, yeah. But unfortunately, it could be, and in most cases, it will be a problem because the layer after layer, like measure layer, yeah, these like events they add up, and like in the end of the year, for example, you would have like not 10 or 15, but 100, 200, 300 specific events and like 100 specific dimensions. Yeah. And in this moment, you have nobody in your team 100% who has like some particular like an opinion or vision about what's happening in your tracking. Yeah. Because the scale is too high for like making some decisions or draw some dashboards, for example. Everything you have this moment is total mess. And so that is why, according to your question again, I see the most important step, like which could lead either to like a total mess or like clear attribution, is dealing with tracking, with your tracking, with your within your application on your or within your website.
Yeah, I understand. It usually compounds and brings to a huge meltdown at the final.
Yeah, exactly.
Clear. Your position is that in-platform attribution is a weak signal now. Full stop. How weak in practice?
It's really tricky question because attribution. I mean platform attribution, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Platform attribution is 100% weak signal. What I mean, example, you have a Meta, yeah, or Google Ads or stuff like that, and they deliver some sort of knowledge, some sort of numbers, like conversions numbers, click session, something like that. Yeah, and use like this data for optimizing your campaigns, for tracking more relevant traffic, convertible traffic. That's it. But each of them provides some sort of analytics solution like dashboards, something like that, and attribution solution as well. And what does it mean? From the surface, it looks like you have a really, really comprehensive solution. I mean, because you buy traffic on Facebook and you can evaluate it and play with attribution also in Facebook. It totally makes sense, yeah. But unfortunately, no, because the Facebook, like, is a closed ecosystem. I don't know how to say it. It has access only to tiny pieces of your data, like from pixel, from website, from your offline conversions, something like that. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that Facebook measurement system is bad. No. But it has some natural limitation, let's call it like that. Yeah. And these limitations sometimes are really strict. For example, they know nothing. I mean, Meta knows nothing about your, I don't know, about your like product interviews, for example, or about some your offline data, like outside offline conversions. Yeah, and that's a problem. Problem number one. And the second one is the problem of alignment. Meta of Facebook, let's say Meta is a public company, and as a public company, it has a strict goal, like or strict, I don't know how to make it, intention. And this goal is to raise the cost of stocks, the stock price. And so that is why the main goal is raise the stock price. It is 100% aligned with all the different processes and I know tactics within the meta. And it also aligns with attribution because meta is something that is 100% focused on building the attribution that relates mostly to meta. And it's something that is natural because when you wanna raise your like stock price, you 100% intend to attribute as much conversions as you can to the Facebook, to Meta, to Instagram, stuff like that. And it's not a bug; it's a feature of a system of a public company. they play like that. They play like that. And again, that's not a bug. It's a feature. And everything you should do is to deal with this feature. What I mean, you should work with, for example, Facebook analytics, meta analytics, you call it, but you should use it only, I guess, that's my proposal, only for optimizing specific campaigns, for ROAS, for like CPA, something like that. Yeah, but not for making really rich decisions. Yeah, and that's it basically, because it's too risky to make some decisions based on only Meta or Facebook data, because, and I told about it in the beginning, the attribution in Meta is a really weak signal, unfortunately. You get it?
100% agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
for a lot of advertisers and the majority of marketers, that would be an insight what you asserted. Basically, what you confirmed is that ad platforms are usually siloed and biased, and that
Yeah.
creates the actual problem that when it comes to take real decisions, not even directional ones, you are limited with this bias and one single perspective focused on maximizing the revenue of ad platforms. So whenever you take a decision, please mind that the ad platforms are biased and you have to have your own independent source of truth, which actually
Wow.
Alex helps to build.
Yeah, I can say better. Exactly.
Nice. And then coming to another question related to bias and being siloed, platform fragmentation, browser side limits, journey complexity, technical expertise. Of those four, which one is costing teams the most money right now, and which one is actually fixable this year?
You know, technical expertise is the bottleneck. I call it bottleneck because it, not only because of like, I don't know, some sort of quick, fast development of the browsers, but I don't know. There are a lot of complicated issues with the tracking, with how the data like transition from one system to another. And at some specific moments, the industry itself began require, I don't know, a lot of technical knowledge from like analyst, from marketer, from product analyst, something like that. Yeah. And I don't know how it happened, but the fact is, it's really, really, like, I don't know, expertise demand rare. Yeah, I don't know how to call it. And so it's really challenging to understand from scratch how data is transitioning and something like that. And I think the blind spot, 100% blind spot, is how contemporary browsers work. What do I mean? You know, you have Safari with IDP, you have Chrome with some sort of like pressure from governments, pressure from advertisers. That's it. You have some different browsers like, I don't know, Mozilla, Brave and stuff like that. And all of them mostly built on like Chromium, not only Chromium, but whatever. All of them have some sort of different requirements, different features. Yeah. And it just make make the scope of work for analyst, for example, for marketer, is really complicated because you need to understand that, for example, if you work with Safari traffic, you could like meet with uh, a lot of traffic which is unknown, not only in the form of source, but form of like IP address, geolocation, something like that. When you work with Chrome, but with Facebook data, you should deal with some sort of like web view implications and something like that. And it's also could be a problem. And unfortunately, like a few years ago, it's been a moment when it's been really, really, really challenging to be a like a web analyst, a marketing analyst, because sometimes everything you need is just a business expertise, BI expertise, data expertise. Okay. At some moments you just like it was a moment when you should be a technical like backend engineer or something like that. And unfortunately it's just like a basic role now. And I see a lot of guys, a lot of folks like which are involved in some sort of tracking issues, some sort of data engineering issues, and I understand their pain because it's really challenging to understand not only JavaScript, SQL, machine learning, but to understand how the browsers actually work. I want I want to recommend a lot of like videos and materials from from Simo Hava, and a lot of them are 100% free, about how browsers work, about how data works, and something like that. And if you need to delve deeper into some like data to marketing issues, I definitely recommend to delve deeper into these materials and in these videos.
Yeah, Simo Hawe is a legend. I remember learning on his first lessons about setting up GTM as a junior marketing manager back those times. And I 100% concur with you about the technical expertise being a bottleneck. I feel so frustrated that in a few years since cookie deprecation, data privacy restrictions started to evolve rapidly, we just appeared in a point of bifurcation where we see that now marketing guys who actually should be taking care of creative part are now struggling with backing them up with the technical expertise. That's good for analysts, but definitely bad for the marketing teams who sometimes just do not understand where the problem originates from.
Yeah, 100%. And mostly, like your paycheck as a marketer doesn't depend on the tracking issue. Usually, it depends like on the total amount of leads, revenue, purchase revenue, something like that. And it's like hardly to imagine that. Like you can go to your boss in the end of the day and say something like, "Oh, I have some sort of tracking issues, and so that is why my KPI with leads they like only 50%, for example." Yeah, that's not how the game plays, yeah. And so that is why, yeah, the challenge is huge and the problem is huge, and unfortunately, you need to be like, let's say, I don't know, you need to have a really rich expertise in a different areas. But fortunately, you have a lot of like tools, like AI tools and something like that, which could be like make your work like not so challenging. I don't know how to say it, and more easy like to perform, for example. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I understand you. Here's the part of your argument I find most interesting. You say the ceiling is cognitive, not technical. And my next question is what's the difference between a reporting system and a decision making system? Most teams think they have the second when they only have the first.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for these questions. I've been like revealing on the last Measures Summit, and the problem itself not only in technical expertise but in our cognitive limitations. Let me reveal it. Imagine you have some project like online school, for example, or B2B, whatever, and like it buys the traffic from Meta, from Google Ads, and it has some sort of huge amount of leads within specific cohorts and stuff like that, and it has a few metrics, yeah, and each of these metrics reveals a specific condition for this lead within the specific like time span. For example, if we try to evaluate yesterday cohort or like a week ago, I don't know, the fresh cohort, we try to evaluate it on the, for example, cost per action because these leads are really fresh. Yeah. But if we are dealing with leads like they came like a month ago, we can evaluate it on another metric. For example, customer acquisition cost, because like within the months we already know that some of these users become customers, for example. Yeah, but within 3 months time span, for example, we can evaluate this traffic not only by customer acquisition cost, by lifetime value, like lifetime value within like 90 days, for example, because this customer could make a few purchases, like they could be a few times could be attendees in some courses. Yeah. And so that is why for people, for humans, it's really easy to evaluate the traffic, the quality of traffic with two-dimensional dashboards. For example, we have a few traffic sources, we have some sort of metrics data, and we know, okay, this traffic is good, this bad, and this is very poor. But when you have a few metrics and you have a few time spent dimensions, for human brain, it's really 100% impossible to evaluate this traffic. Like, it's really easy, to see it
Yeah, I
in two
understand
dimension,
that.
but in three, in four, yeah. And so that is why I call it some sort of cognitive limitations. But you know what I mean? AI agents, basically usually do not have such a limitation.
Yeah, I faced those situations very often working with the clients, and I always told that do not treat dashboards as like final instance to take a decision. The final point is just directional stuff. And this is the dashboards they never tell the full story. Like it's a certain perspective, but it's never the full story. While you need to take a decision. This is why I fully understand your claim that you should also have a decision-making system on the top of the reporting system, and they are both of like the same integrity.
100%.
Where is the practical breaking point the moment a team stops reading the dashboard and starts guessing?
I don't know. Each dashboard has like its own limitations. And as far as I can see, the dashboard, I think the dashboard is only like the quick overview of the situation in one particular moment. As I told before, it's just not like the whole story, but I don't know how to make the fingerprint, yeah, some sort of like the photo, the picture of some specific moment, and it's just a quick overview. You have some specific signals, you have some specific charts, and everything you could reveal is only some like high level, I don't know, claims, some high level, I don't know. So it's not something that I could be really like detailed, precise, and comprehensive. Yeah, and fortunately, the whole stuff with the genetic systems with the AI makes these situation more understandable, I guess. Yeah, more bright, because now I think all the folks understand and see the dashboard only as a tool for making really rich, like, and easy to eat decisions. I don't know how. So you cannot make like really deep research with the dashboard you have. And I bet it doesn't depend on the dashboard. It doesn't depend 100% on some like how the dashboard is designed on or how many charts it has. It doesn't depend. If you need a deep research, if you need to like, I don't know, build retention curve or something like that, you need to delve deeper into data, and its scope usually is outside any dashboard you could have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, makes perfect sense because as we concluded before, the dashboard has limitations. And if you want to understand the full story, you have to go beyond. And interestingly, you mentioned the agents layer, which is now treated a kind of a silver bullet for the people who don't want to go beyond and delve deeper. And we will talk about that a little bit later. Yet I treat the agent layer with a grain of salt. And a lot of people just overlook the pitfall that if you put something wrong in, you would get something wrong out. So
Exactly.
continuing this discussion, let's get concrete about the build. And this is the part people will want to copy. So you build custom attribution in BigQuery rather than trusting any platform's model. What is the minimum viable version of that, and what does a team need in place before it's worth starting?
Good questions. Good question. Yeah, thank you very much. And you told something that really resonates me. Garbage in, garbage out here, because you have shit, you produce shit, and that's the way it usually works. That's it. I want to begin from the point that we just are used to working with everything that we have in the form of chat, and this chat we expect to be 100% right forever. And for some reason, we just like bring this case, I don't know how to call it, to the data stack, to the marketing analytics stack, and we just expect AI agent to be 100% right in any case, in attribution, in I don't know, working with retention, with some different data. That's it. But that's not the way it usually works, unfortunately. And I want to tell you it's really important and it's really challenging at the same time to build the frame for your data agent from like clear data set with attribution rules, with semantic layer, with context rules, with other definitions, with like SQL examples and something like that. And I think the key problem for analytic folks is to understand that you need to put a lot of efforts, like to make a working environment for your agent is really framed by your rules. And it's 100% important because you need not only like some random output, but really, really specific output from your agent in form of decisions, and you usually like need not of like random decisions but really strict and specific decisions. For example, I need like to pause some campaigns in Facebook, I need to invest more, I need like to expand like the range of my creatives, for example. And these decisions, they should be framed. Now in 2026, it's like, I think, reckless. I don't know how to call it, but it doesn't make sense to give 100% freedom to your data agents, because its intention is only pleasure you. But the pleasure is not something that you need from not from him or from her, but from it, I guess. You need decisions, and these decisions should be balanced, should be efficient, I guess. And it's not like something that should pleasure you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned context in a while, and the context is what makes the agent actually useful. Written instructions, verified queries, a glossary. So my question is, which of those three does the most work, and what specifically goes wrong when one is missing out of those array?
So I unfortunately I have no clear answer, because from my point of view it could be a problem if you exclude any of them, and it's really challenging to say that in some cases the problem could be like worse or better, I don't know. And I think all of them are equally important, let's say. Now I just cannot like to rank it, for example, and say, okay, context is important but semantic layer, okay, forget about it. No, unfortunately, it's something like really accurate, really like, I don't know, really specific work which require a lot of attention to some tiny details, to evils, to like playing with your context and the rules and the sequels and something like that. And it's not the machine that you can like start off and it's starting like perform and, I don't know, start collect the money, for example. It's not working like that. I don't know.
All right. One more aspect which bothers me also is verified queries. So verified queries log the agent into logic you already provided. And then how do you decide which of your queries earn that status, and how often does that set need rewriting?
So, if you are working with data, you already know that there are some specific example of queries which could be like high risky, let's say. For example, I don't know, there are some example of queries which could be, I don't know how to call it, but could be replicated by a lot of folks, and agents like apparently would know like some specific examples of queries which are like 100% popular, yeah. But each analyst know that the truth in the specific improvement of your query according to your situation. For example, cohort definition or some attribution window definition, or how to build attribution on GA4 database on like order of events within this session. And the truth in the details. That's it. And the role of analyst, I guess, is deliver these tiny details to the agent and like to say him, hey bro, build the attribution, but make it step one, step two, step three, for example. You can say something like, okay, build me attribution or build me retention curve, and it makes it. Like it wouldn't be like answering like asking some questions, yeah. It's just to deliver the decision. This is the attribution, okay, but that's not like the solution, not something that you can use on a daily basis, yeah. And it just means that you can like put a lot of efforts into some sort of basis of your agent, and specific or verified queries are the like one of the important parts of this job.
Yeah, that's the real life. I also adhere the principle that definitions should not be one size fits all. And very
One
often
size
I'm at
fits all, yeah.
situation. Yeah, exactly. And very often I'm at situations where like different stakeholders were asking probably obvious questions, considering in their mind that like each business is the same and the definitions in every business are the same. Like they came from one industry where there were same MQLs, and they come
Mm-hmm.
to another industry and they treated these MQLs the same way. forgetting that each business like defines and filters them in a different way.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about delivery and decision making. So, to say, circle back in the discussion a little bit. What's a budget decision you've seen a team make that the data actually argued against, and what happened next?
Wow. I had a lot of issues and the cases which are like similar to something that you discussed, something that you described. And sometimes it happens. And I think it could be the case, but it should have a really, really like solid basis. So you work not only with your web or app data, for example. You are working with some product data or some data from your customers, like um, some direct responses from a customer, some sort of interviews. And in some moment, it could be controversial, yeah. And the data from your application could say that you should invest more in some typical like traffic sources, yeah. But your customer tell you the opposite. And in some moment, you can make you should make a, let's say, sole decision, not to believe the data, but to believe to people, for example, yeah. And it doesn't work in 100% cases, unfortunately, because numbers are just the model of the reality. Yeah. And each attribution model, each dashboard, every dashboard is just the model of reality. It's something that represents reality in some sense. Yeah. And it could be controversial with the reality itself. Yeah. And for founder, for CMO, for data analyst, it's really important to distinguish the model of reality from the reality itself. And if you have, for example, a few folks who like tell you that, hey, bro, we don't see any buy button on your website. Yeah. And so that is why we cannot make a purchase. I think you should rely on them, not on your like, I don't know, machine learning application or something like that, but on people who tell you that they cannot make a purchase. And in some cases, it's more important than like building a comprehensive and difficult and challenging attribution model or something like that. That's
Yeah,
it.
you framed it ideally. I mean, that would be the hook of this episode. Definitely resonated a lot with me that the dashboards are just models. Those are numbers which would always contradict with the reality, while you should talk to customers, listen to the clients. And I think that was repeating narrative throughout all episodes of my podcast from different guests, not even connected with each other, that like whenever you have a conflict, go and talk to customers, like listen to the conversations and make the right decisions based on what people want, why they buy your product or your services. So let's wrap it up. And I'd like to ask one last question. If a CMO or head of marketing listening to this podcast wants to make one change to how their team trusts and uses data next week, what should it be?
You know, I just tend to answer something stupid like trust to your heart or something like that. But unfortunately, I have no like magic pill. Yeah. And I understand that all of us want to have this magic pill and all of us really want to like just push the button and get the money. But I think now with all this AI junk, it's really important to accept. So there is no magic pill. You have all the chats, you have all the models, you have all the like, I don't know, content magic, whatever it is, that just works only by tiny like buttons and something like that. But guys, there is no magic pill. You could have data and you could trust data. Yeah. In God we trust. Everybody rest. Like, should we rely on that or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a platitude, but it's a rather concise and good framing of what people should do. And you know, a lot of people currently are being afraid that AI and machines would replace them, but you framed it the right way, like trust yourself and make the decisions on your own, because those are all still instruments and they need a decision maker who is human currently.
Yeah. Trust yourself. Perfect.
Alexei, thank you very much. That was genuinely very useful discussion, and I think it would help a lot of people. Can you tell me where can people find your work or reach you out?
On LinkedIn, I put a lot of efforts to my LinkedIn content, and we can connect with each other on LinkedIn, basically.
I would leave the link in the description to the episode.
Okay.
That was Alexei Ignatenko, Links to his LinkedIn would be in description. Go on and find him there, connect, and discuss what you need. If you are in the middle of this right now, rebuilding your attribution logic or sitting in a meeting arguing about whose numbers are right, tell me what broke. I read every comment, and the good ones turn into future episodes. This has been Measurement Layer, Marketing Tracking Unpacked. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
See ya. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.